As we are gathered here today, we must ask ourselves, and what is the state of our continent? What is the state of Pan-Africanism? I remember so very vividly in this land, in this South Africa, in this land where one of the greatest crimes ever committed by man was unleashed, the crime of apartheid. In this land, there came men who, in their misguided view, took the view that the black man was the child of a lesser God. They introduced one of the most egregious crimes ever known to man. They committed crimes of man's inhumanity to man. For many years, this land suffered under the yoke of apartheid. But you are not alone. Before that, the African was subjected to slavery. Our kith and kin were taken away into different parts of the world. They were taken away to Europe. They built Europe. They were taken away to the United States of America. They built the United States of America. They were taken away to the Caribbean. They built the Caribbean. Then after slavery had lost its luster and attraction, they pretended to ban slavery. But it came again in a different form. And sitting in Berlin in 1884 and 1885, those same diabolical peoples divided our continent into little pieces. They came here. The Dutch were here. They went to what is now Namibia. The Germans were here. They went to Angola and Mozambique and Guinea-Bissau and Cabo Verde. The Portuguese were here. They came to Nyasaland. They came to what was then Rhodesia and Zambia. And they went to Kenya and Uganda and Ghana and Nigeria and Sierra Leone and Gambia. The British were here. Then the French also came. They were here. They went to Dahomey, now Benin, to Togo, to Cameroon, to Cote d'Ivoire, to Senegal, to Mauritania, to Algeria. The French were here. The Italians were here. They came to Somalia. They went to Libya. They were here. The Belgians were here. They went to Congo. The Spanish were here. They went to Sao Tome and Principe. They were here. The Belgians, of course, and the Germans went to Rwanda and Urundi. They were here. All of them were here. And what they did was to remind us, if we needed reminding at all, that they were here to stay. They abused us. We fought against them wherever they were. The Mau Mau fought them in Kenya. They fought them in Tanganyika. They fought them in Ghana. And we defeated them and we started regaining our independence. I can still hear those immortal words of the Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah on the 6th day of March 1957 in Accra, Ghana, telling his Ghanaian peoples that the independence of Ghana means nothing if the rest of Africa is not independent. I can hear the Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah convening a meeting in 1958 and telling Africans we must unite now, because if we don't unite, we will be manipulated. Nobody listened to the Osagyefo. I can hear the Osagyefo once again in 1960 in Casablanca, Morocco, accompanied as he was by King Idris of Libya on that day. In their presence was Ahmed Sékou Touré of Guinea. In their presence was King Hassan of Morocco, reminding Africa once again that we must unite. But they listened to him not. I can hear the Osagyefo again on the 24th day of May 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, telling the 32 heads of states gathered in Addis Ababa, we must unite now. We must have one army. We must have one currency. We must have one foreign policy. We must be united. And I can hear the Osagyefo saying, I do not want to be the leader of that country. I simply want unity. And I'm saying that we must live here with one united government. They listen not to the Osagyefo. And you know, they did not stop there, because their diabolical and subterranean hands were alive then. No sooner had we regained political independence, as we were celebrating our new national anthems, as we were celebrating our new flags, as we were celebrating our new mottos and slogans, the neo-colonizer was alive and well. In 1961, they had taken out Patrice Emery Lumumba. And I can remember that famous letter of Patrice Emery Lumumba written in 1961. One day, even if you kill my body, Africa shall write our history. I remember in 1980, Africans sat in Lagos, Nigeria, and they came up with the Lagos Plan of Action and said, under the Lagos Plan of Action, that Africa was going to economically regenerate herself. I remember them saying that Africa will trade with herself, that Africa will buy our own gold, that Africa will trade with our own cocoa, that Africa will produce our wine, that Africa will produce and consume our uranium. The Lagos Plan of Action did not succeed. But is it not true that failure or apparent failure is the mother of success? If it is true, we did not give up. Because I remember in 1997, on the 6th day of March, to be exact, that great African, that great Tanzanian Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, speaking in Accra, Ghana, on the occasion of the 40th anniversary of the independence of Ghana, said, I remember, he said, that a few years ago, we doubted Kwame Nkrumah when he talked about unity. We must now apologize to Kwame. He was right, we were wrong. But we have now recognized the mistakes that we made. We will meet many challenges, but of all the sins that we can commit, there is a single sin that we must never commit: the sin of despair, the sin of giving up. You know, on that day, Mwalimu said, every generation has a role to play. My generation is the generation that led the struggle for independence. Your generation must now fight a different battle, the battle of economic emancipation. And that is the battle that we are here to fight. And I remember once again, this land is in the business of producing good men and women. In the year 2013, you produced yet another woman Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. And you gave her the task of being the chair of the African Union, and she wrote a letter to the Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah. Said, Osagyefo, we asked for your forgiveness, and that is how we came up with Africa Agenda 2063 and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Under those documents, we are promising ourselves that Africa shall be economically emancipated, because we cannot allow ourselves to be under the tutelage of the International Monetary Fund. We cannot, and we must not. We must not allow ourselves to be slaves of the World Bank. We must not. We must not allow ourselves to be told who our friends are and who our enemies are and what we should and should not do. We cannot be the tail that is wagged by the dog all the time. The time has come that we must do the things that are in our best interest. And that will only happen when we are economically emancipated. You know, they say that he or she who pays the piper calls the tune. For too long we have not paid the piper. We must now pay our piper that we may call the tune. EFF, you are now telling us how to pay the piper. You are now telling us that going forward we must now economically emancipate ourselves. We cannot be a continent whose greatest claim to fame is that we are in the business of borrowing. We have borrowed for too long. We've been abused for too long. And the time, therefore, is now for this spirit of the EFF to spread. And the revelation was given unto them that the last colonial question was economic emancipation. It was a revelation. And they said that we must have economic freedom in our lifetime. This idea that economic freedom is a pie in the sky that we only dream about is without basis. We can get it now. We cannot be a continent where our economies are dominated by the smallest proportion of the population. We cannot be, and we must not be. And economic freedom fighters are urging you that we must now be in the business of spreading this message to the rest of the continent. It is only when that spirit is present in every part of Africa that we shall shake Africa. When it is there, we shall no longer have visas in Africa. No, we shall not. Oh, when it is there, we shall no longer have the rand. Oh, no. We shall no longer have all these currencies. There shall only be one currency, and we shall be economically liberated. Oh, it shall happen, and it must happen. Because if it doesn't happen, we will not allow it to happen. You know, sometimes there are those who think it cannot happen. Oh, but they are mistaken. They are mistaken because I remember those words of the great Ghanaian James Emmons Kwejiragri. And I remember the little story that he used to tell. The story of the chicken and the story of the eagle. And Kwejiragri used to tell us that there was a chicken farmer, and that this chicken farmer had chicken, and that one day some of the chicks wandered into the wilderness, and when they came back, there was amongst them the chick of an eagle, and he fed them on chicken feed for a long time. And one day a naturalist came and saw the eaglet, and said, "This is an ego amongst chicken." And the farmer said, "Yes, it is an eaglet. But we have fed it on chicken feed for too long. It is no longer an eagle." And the farmer said, "No." Or the naturalist said, "No, once an eagle, always an eagle." And he tried to put it on the palm of his hand, and it refused to fly. And the poultry farmer said, "I told you, it was once an eagle. We have fed it on chicken feed for a long time. It has lost its eaglehood. It has acquired chickenhood." The naturalist came back and said, "Let me try again." And he put it on the palm of his hand, and it flew away. And he turned to the farmer and said, "I told you, once an eagle, even if you feed it on chicken feed, it will remain an eagle." Oh, they thought that they had fed it on chicken feed. We are eagles, and we shall fly, and we shall soar, and we shall be economically liberated. And when we are economically liberated, we shall be equal with everybody in the world, if not better. And we must be. Go out there. Because if indeed there is a spirit, is the spirit of economic liberation, let that spirit now descend. Let us be possessed with that spirit. Let us go out into the world and tell all the doubting Thomases that it shall never be the same again. That it shall never be the same again. Because from here and now, we are taking a solemn vow that from this generation and generations yet to be born, we shall liberate Africa by ensuring that the chains of economic colonization are removed. You know, we have complained for too long. We are not going to complain anymore. We have agonized for too long. We are not going to agonize anymore. We have moralized for too long. We are not going to moralize anymore. We have philosophized for too long. We are not going to philosophize anymore. We have intellectualized for too long. We are not going to intellectualize anymore. We are going to act.